Hi, guys. I'm here with Ice White. Welcome to the MVP Engineer podcast. Thanks for coming. You have an interesting story, so we're excited to hear from you today. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me what you've been working on the last couple years. What's exciting about you? What kind of product are you building? Talk to me.
Thanks. So actually, I released a book in 2020, and I have been working on stuff based on that in the last 2 years. But the crazy part is it was released at the very beginning of 2020, so the pandemic was just about to start. So everyone's lives were disrupted, of course. But aside from that, it actually turned out to become a bestseller. So ever since, I started a few things based on the book. So last year, 2022, I started something called Message Game Wingman. The book is
Hold
called
on,
The
hold on.
Message
You're
Game.
holding us in suspense. What's the book? Tell me the book.
The Message Game. A
Which
book
is?
about online dating.
Yes.
Effectively, it teaches you, it is a guide, an extremely practical guide for messaging in the context of online dating.
Okay, great. All right. I,
Yeah.
I knew that. I just wanted to make sure everybody else knew it. All right. So now you turned this book into a digital product, and talk to me how that works. And you got some AI working with it. So talk to me about the current status. What is it? What are you selling it? How's it work on the insides? Talk to me.
So first, just a bit of context. So last year, 2022, I started something called Message Game Wingman, where people would pay me a subscription to look at their screenshots and give them exactly what to reply with to their Tinder matches, or whatever other dating app they're using, or Facebook, whatever they're using. The problem was that it gets to a point where you have too many people sign up, and then it's pretty much a 24/7 thing. So you wake up, especially if you're in a different time zone to the people who sign up, then you have to reply to them quickly because they need to reply to their match or even to their girlfriend in some cases, which is kind of funny. So it became a little bit annoying because there were a lot of people depending on me, and I have to sleep and I got things to do and I got other more important things to do than to reply to other people's messages manually. So this was before, like, everyone heard of AI, but this was before ChatGPT boomed out of, I would say, out of nowhere in everyone's minds. Because that was late 2022 when that was really kicking off. And then I got into the AI stuff at the beginning of 2023 and looked at that as an alternative and phased out Message Game Wingman. So instead of it being me responding to a group of people individually, I could have AI replicate myself and do that job for me so that I spend 0 hours doing that. And um, of course, hours adjusting this and helping the AI grow and just making sure it works and stuff like that, and doing the marketing, of course. So effectively, it was designed initially to replace me and to phase out that product, which was very much manual labor driven. And the difference is, from my perspective at least, the problem I was solving with this new AI product for me personally was that I was removing the limitation, because with AI it can be scaled. I could have 1 million people use it, but I cannot give 1 million people my time one on one answering their messages. That's just
Obviously, I love
insanely
this.
impossible.
Obviously,
Huh?
I love this, right? Like we're always trying to take AI to duplicate the humans, right? But we don't want to just duplicate a random dude messaging on Tinder. We have to duplicate the best. You're the expert. you get the dates, you make it work, right? And we're duplicating your brain power because you went and solved something. And AI is not very good at that. AI is not very good at solving novel problems and like in the real human world. So you find a human that's done it, that is successful, then you duplicate that person's brain. That's just got to be the uh, the model for these AI tools. It just has to be, right?
Absolutely.
So what did you do? You took some training data of messages that you've sent in your dating life and messages that you've sent to say like, look at this, and then like here's the response, and then you said throw all this in the training data and then see a new conversation. Is that the thing that we did here? How did you train the model to make it work for you?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, before there was the AI, there was the wingman thing, which I just told you about, where it's me. Before that, there was the book. Before that, there
It
was a
was
guide in
you going on
2018.
Tinder way too much and getting all the girls. Yeah, I get it.
and,
I get it.
and there's that too. But all before the guide, there was a Telegram group and a Facebook group. So
Yeah.
actually, over a very long period, this is not just me making some random AI product out of nowhere like
No,
some
this
other
is
people have
decades of
done.
your life. I get it.
Exactly. This has come from a stream of lots of different things,
I'm not
which
saying
just fell into place like dominoes.
I'm not trying to take away from your experience at all. What I'm trying to do is understand how to build the product because there are other people with other expertises other than dating that have done what you've done and spent the decades building that expertise. But talk to me about how you trained the model. I assume it wasn't you, it was some software engineer that you worked with. But did you take a corpus of data, just like hundreds of conversations that you had from your Facebook group or from your wingman business, and then you fed those into an LLM and you said, hey, what's the new response to this one? Is that what you did? How did that work mechanically for our engineer minded
Mhm.
folks? And if you don't know the answer, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Although it wasn't hundreds, it was tens of thousands
Tens of
because
thousands. Yeah.
by this year we collected, or I collected in as an individual.
Yeah.
My Telegram group amassed something like 10,000 because their Telegram has a limit of 10,000 exactly,
Yeah.
as far as I remember. And we also had the Facebook group, but there are other groups that I have too, including the Message Game Wingman one. And that was very useful data
Yeah.
because that had me replying to every single screenshot. So that was a more purified one, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of for the engineer minds that are listening, I gave up programming about 10 years ago. So the my other person, the AI guy, as I say, handles all of that stuff. I don't know too much about
That's
the
fair.
very technical stuff, but basically, I provided here's the data. I got like tens of thousands of these examples, and also there's the book as well, so we can just feed the chapters from the book. And there's a
Yep.
special part in the book called the Situation Index, where it has a table of situations. Let's say, for example, she she is away for 2 weeks, or she says she's busy, something like that, and it gives you every single page. So it's very easy to kind of categorize what the even before AI, because I'm not an AI technologist necessarily. I'm not a programmer anymore.
Yep.
Even for me writing the book, I recognize the categorizations, and that helped from the very beginning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you can take so I love this with all the AI training is you kind of bucket it into different paradigms and you're building an expert system, and these people talk about AI and AI just solves everything, but like no, you have to apply it to a real life situation and say, hey, these are the buckets that we're talking about. This is a busy a special event busyness. This is someone that likes to go out a lot and needs an invitation, or this is someone who's just BSing and wants to talk a bunch on the app and doesn't want to meet up. You've seen this Friendly app? Have you seen that shit? Do you know
Maybe I
what,
heard of it.
Friendly is? Their pitch is flirt online without having the pressure to meet up. I just think it's insane. I just think it's
Yeah.
insane. Like, who's online just chatting in text and that's all you want to do? Like, what's wrong with you? Are you a basement troll? Like, why would you ever do that? Who is the market for this product? But
People who
back
seek
to,
validation, I would say.
I guess so. I don't know. It seems insane to me. But back to the main point. We're trying to categorize and bucket it into these different expert systems, and then you have a model or a part of the model trained on each of these scenarios, right? And then that way you can uh, relate your final message back to that scenario and then back to the specific messages. What I'm a little bit curious about is how you trained it to know who's saying what. Because these LLMs are really bad at perspective. I don't know if you're familiar with what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about I just came back from the gym, and she says, "Yeah, I'm having brunch with the girls." And then, like, the machine says the next thing, and it says, "How'd you enjoy the gym?" Right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't understand who says what because text is just text. And I'd be curious how you're able to separate that out because you're kind of accessing a model of her brain, her messages, and then you're accessing a model of the protagonist's brain, my brain, my messages, right? And we have to keep those two contexts straight. And I found that the machines have a really tough time with that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, have experienced it, or if you remember how this was done in your stuff. Do you recall?
Yeah. So actually, for now, I think maybe next week or the next 2 weeks, we're integrating the screenshot upload part
Yeah,
because that would just make it so much easier for the user,
yeah,
for the sake of user experience, right? And the problem with that from a developer's perspective that I understand is it's only as good as the technology understanding the context. Like the left side is her messages, the right side is your
Well, that's pretty
messages, the
easy. That's
times,
pretty
those
easy.
kinds of
But the
things.
question is, how is it structured once it gets into the LLM model, right? So, like,
Hmm.
parsing the screenshot into text and doing the image to text processing, that's pretty straightforward. But clearly, you've already done the stuff for the LLM to get it responding with messages. No, I mean, clearly that's already working.
Yeah, so up until this point, and again, until we do the screenshot part where people upload images, really people are just copying and pasting the
Yeah,
messages.
yeah,
But it understands the context because a lot of guys are putting she said and then they paste, and
yeah.
it understands completely from that perspective.
That's good. I don't know. I've still seen some troubles when I do this kind of conversational stuff with ChatGPT anyway. I don't know if you're training your own model, yeah?
So I'm not sure which particular one we're using because
Yep,
the
yep.
the developers tell me it's better not to advertise the exact one because we could switch at any time
Well,
because
of
there
course,
could
of
be a better
course, of
one
course.
coming along and stuff like
But
that.
you're
So
talking to a developer now and I need to know because I have experience with each of them. And Claude is the like poet of the group. It's the one that knows the more it just speaks more poetically. ChatGPT has a little bit more features and advanced and has more context and knows more things, but Claude's the one that really speaks romantically. I actually I'll show you this. I went to Money 2020, a conference in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and they had this like typewriters. They had a bunch of typewriters and some people writing poetry, and they wrote a poem for me for my girlfriend. And is it backwards for you? It's backwards, yeah.
I can't see it, but it is. I can read it. I just
Oh yeah,
can't
yeah.
see it very well.
So her poem ended, "You are the only light I know." I said, "Hey, we were writing a poem for my girlfriend who's long distance," and then I had Claude do it, the AI, and I made a poem through there, and we got it typed up, and I had Leo, uh, my girlfriend, actually rate both of the poems against each other, and I thought the human's poem was better. But Leo thought the computer's poem was better. And I said, it doesn't matter what I think. Obviously, it never matters what the guy thinks. so, so, like, the computer won on this one. And it says, their love will find a way to be. And that's the end of Claude's poem. She said Claude's poem was more hopeful. And I said, whoa, hope from a computer. That's intense, right?
That's rich.
Well, hey, no, it's real. She didn't know who was who, right? It's wild how this stuff works. But I know that when you keep ChatGPT in a single thread, it gets confused also because if you ask it a bunch of questions about different topics, it biases the latest thing that was said. It seems like a really simple mistake, but a lot of people seem to make it where they're chatting with ChatGPT, they talk about their taxes, and then they say like, "Hey, what should I have for dinner?" And then it's like, "Ooh, well, tax accountants like chicken and broccoli, so maybe you should get that, right?" So like it just gets confused and keeps the current context a little bit too much. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think the screenshots is really interesting. But you and I talked about me building a feature for you and building the scraping and reintegration with Tinder Web, and I've done this on every dating site I've come across, and building automation for actual messaging, and I think Tinder we're ready for. I think I should take on Tinder next. We use these tools that just simulate uh, um, clicks and simulate typing, and we have a product called Shells. Not my product, but Shells.com is a virtual machine system that lets you have just computers with a GUI up and running as many times as you want. Right, it's a VM, but it lets you shell in virtual remote shell into the machine. And by doing that and coupling that with these the Java robot class, and Java robot class is from Java 6 because they decided they didn't want people doing this anymore. So you download the old version of Java and you use it. So that's been my expertise. That's how I built the poker bots back in the day, and all these yeah man poker bots back in
Poker bots.
2011. Um, because yeah, you just have to know where the bodies are buried. All these technologies exist to automate all these things, but the people in charge are like, no, we're not letting you do that shit anymore. So Java 7 no longer has the robot class. Java 8, 9, I don't even know what we're on. 12, I don't even care because I don't use Java for any other reason. I only use Java 6. It's crazy. So we're gonna build that out for you. So let's do a quick scoping session with you on the call here. So talk to me, like what would that look like for you, and how do we get it done? Because I need some sales, so I need you to buy this from me. So what does that look like? Like what would it look like for you to have a to have the automation inside the Tinder. That way you just sell a fully functioning. You just sell dates. Now you're just selling dates.
Yeah. I guess there could be a few ways to visualize it, but based on because we haven't done the screenshots thing yet, it has been very much writing based or copy and paste based. I like the idea of being able to copy and paste. So if you're like able to see a menu where it gives you I don't think it should give you like free options of a message to send because then you're still being overwhelmed by choice. But
You
if
don't have to. You
there's
don't need the options. I'm just saying we're going to send the messages, and the person doesn't even touch anything. You give me your login to your Tinder, and I log in
Hmm.
on Shells, and then I message for you.
Okay, so actually, Tinder gave me some statistics because I requested them for the second edition of my book, which I'm working on right now. And it was something, I'm not going to make up the statistic, but it was a very impressive amount of people from the age of 18 to 25 who reply within 30 minutes. So the thing I'm kind of sketchy about is I wouldn't want it to be programmed to send straight away
Yeah.
because
Oh,
then
without a doubt.
that could be a red flag on Tinder's system. I don't know how it works. And it could be a red flag for the woman receiving it. Oh, I just got to reply immediately. So timing would have to be a factor
You
worked
think
out.
that's
Now that's a
that's the
problem
easy
for
part.
me.
That's the easy part, Ice. It's called time.sleep. You just say, hey, the girl has to wait 25 minutes, doesn't matter what's happening, because hey, the computer is
Mhm.
making you wait. So that's what humans do. Humans are on their phone, they're ready
Yeah,
to text, they're doing their thing, and then they're like, hey, this person's gotta wait. But I have trouble remembering who I have to message back because I have thousands of people in my inbox.
exactly.
So
So yeah, it is
you let the
easy.
computer
I
keep
would
track
just need
as the
like
CRM. You let the computer keep track as the CRM and put the delay in and just say everybody gets replied to 25 minutes later, whatever. And then you throw in a little random so it's good, and then you're golden.
I would do it a little bit differently. So there has to be an exception case where if it's an urgent matter, which
Yeah,
is more of a rare case, such as the date is supposed to be tomorrow, then you
yeah,
have a limited time window, of course. I
yeah.
wouldn't randomize it necessarily, but I would contextualize how long it took for her uh,
For her
latest
last
reply
reply.
compared to before, and have some kind of formula figured out over that.
Yeah,
That
but
would
these
take me like
formulas are
30
so
minutes to
easy.
work
These
out. That's
formulas are
easy.
so easy to determine because it's an expert system. You know the answers. I know the answers. You know, anybody that thinks about it for 30 seconds can figure out a good first pass on the answer. But my fear is when I talk to clients, they're always like, "Oh, well, let's just let the AI figure it out, and we'll train a model, and we'll figure out what the timing is for this, and we'll let the computer tell us." And they want the computer to tell them everything because they don't want to take responsibility and they don't want to make a guess and
Mhm.
create an expert system. And I'm all about expert systems because AI is just like this black box of unknowability and it makes a lot of mistakes when you don't train it right. So you want to use an expert system to figure this stuff out. I don't know. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I'm the problem for me. My personal opinion, at least, gets in the way of this. I don't. I understand that we live in a culture of on demand. We want food delivered to our door on a bicycle or a motorbike, like from a few miles away, because we're too lazy to cook it ourselves or go there ourselves. I don't want it to be for lazy people, but I would at least want people to have effort, and I still want to have webinars. So if we automate everything, the webinars would be kind of useless. I still want people to know how to do this, and I want a balance to have a bit of automation, but not to make everything so easy so they don't even know how to tie
Look,
their own shoelaces,
Ice,
basically.
the people who want to learn are going to learn, and the rest are going to cheat and make you rich.
Fair enough.
All
I'm
right.
convinced
That's
now.
just what's going to
Okay.
happen. That's just what's going to happen. And that's what I was getting at with you when I was talking about that other stuff. Because I said, hey, this guy's going to show up on the date. He cheated the whole thing. And Ice wrote every single message. He shows up to the date, and he's a boring sad sack. And the girl's like, oh, you just fucking catfished me. And you didn't even catfish me because you look better than your pictures, but you catfished me because you're a fucking boring slob.
Hmm.
So that's why I said, why don't you have it train against the person and you, or at least like this? You mentioned your competitors talk about romantic and flirty, right? Like I don't even know what that means. What's the difference? There's no difference. It's all
Yeah, exactly.
like
It's
what
all
do you mean?
buzzwords for
It doesn't
marketing
make any sense.
purposes.
It's like what it's like okay, train on A or train on B. It's like nothing. But you might want to say I'm an intellectual or I'm a musician, or I'm uh, I'm very extroverted, right? Like those things are meaningful categories that say like the types of things that I'm into. I drink a lot of beer. I'm a vodka guy. I'm a partier. I do cocaine, right? Like whatever it is that the person does, that could give a legitimate category to what could be said to the other person, and frame the messaging, right? Because I think the other thing is, well, I'll pause and let you speak on that first.
So customization you're talking about,
Yeah, just so the guy shows up and it's
personalization.
not like and it's not like a rude awakening to say, "Hey, ooh, this guy's not who I was expecting." Because I was messaging Ice, and I want to go out with Ice, but this guy Chaz showed up, and nobody likes Chaz.
So imagine it's me. There are a million dates happening, right? And because of my AI, so a million guys go on these dates, and the messaging was in my style.
Yeah,
And yeah, so there are going to be lots of cases where that's not quite going to match up once reality kicks in, because okay, once
because
you're in
everybody loves
person.
you, Ice. You're just the master dater.
This is a classic kind of concern with AI online dating. By the way, for the guys listening, I'm the host of the AI online dating podcast. So if you're interested, just send me an email or something. I You don't have to know about dating. Some people, I have people who or AI experts on one side, and I got dating app experts or dating coaches on the other side, or people who are the CEOs of an AI dating app.
Yeah, I saw
But
that. I
anyway,
saw that episode.
back to your question. This is kind of why we have the webinar, because we can't just teach. Well, we can't just have you messaging and messaging, because AI will handle that, but you can't have AI show up on the date for you.
Not yet.
So you are going to need some training and context and practice to actually get this kind of thing right. Because it's one thing to message and get a million dates if you want to, but it's another matter to actually make those dates count
Yeah,
and to optimize those dates by setting them up in the right way in the first place.
yeah.
So that's also what we're about, because I realized this um, before I was even writing the book. That's why I had a chapter completely on how to set up, not just, this isn't just generic advice, it's how to set up a date in such a specific way that um, where it's set up for the sake of the fun, and so the conversation is secondary. And that's the thing, because if you're just going to a restaurant, you're sitting across from each other, the date becomes about conversation and eating, and you only have one mouth, so you can't eat and speak at the same time. That's not quite ideal. um but when it becomes purely about conversation, then that's not necessarily going to match up with what your messages were talking about in the first place. But if you're doing something, I give the classic example of ice skating. So you can fall over and laugh about it. You can hold hands, you can just do crazy stuff. The conversation becomes secondary. The fun is first. So that's just a little taste of how it is. Having a more fluid date instead of a static date. That's the difference.
I love that. Ice skating is such a good
And
date.
people need to know that.
Why are guys so bad at planning dates that like are cheap and fun? It's just like so easy.
That they just like to maybe go for the old pattern of what
Yeah.
everyone else does: go to the bar, go
Let's
to
go
a
to the
restaurant,
movies.
something
Fair
boring.
fair enough. So talking about categorizing the AI responses, do you have another thing about intent, or is the intent always like get a phone number, get a date? What's the intent that's because like the AI has to drive to something. It's not just like a lot of times the AI is so passive and just like responds back and says, "Hey, like this is the response, right? Like let me just kick it back and say, uh, oh cool, brunch sounds fun. How was that?" Right? Like that's such a boring response. But Ice, I haven't read your book, but I know that your style has to be so much more active and engaging and
Mhm.
with intent behind it, right? How did you teach the AI to show intent and to show interest and to say, "Hey, time
Yeah,
to give me your number,
great question. Am I allowed to say the B word on here?
bitch?"
Oh no, the other one.
I don't know another B
You're
word.
already bull.
Bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, that you said it, so
I've
of
been saying the
course.
F first the whole time.
Oh, I just didn't register any of that.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to be myself.
I'm just checking because this is my
Say what you
third
want. Say what you
podcast
want,
this
Ice.
week. This is Wednesday. I got a big one tomorrow, so I got to know the rules for each one.
All right.
But anyway,
We should have went over the
so
rules. Just say
basically,
whatever you want.
the first rule is skip the bullshit. So this is
Yeah.
what we
No
have
doubt.
trained. It's called MGAI, by the way, Message Game AI, but MGAI.
I'm curious because when I talk to my AIs, they're always giving me bullshit and they give me filler words and they're like,
Mhm.
"Ugh, it's just disgusting. I
Well,
just
that's
hate it."
how we solved that in the first place. Skip the bullshit. Problem solved. But what? Yeah,
You
just a
say, "Hey,
little
skip."
joke.
Yeah,
But
go ahead. Sorry.
what it actually means is because this is such a core part of the book. So there are three rules. There's skip the bullshit, there's lead, and there's meet. Meeting is the ultimate objective.
Obviously.
I'll get back to that in a little bit because that one's very interesting. Because yeah, I'll just mention that later. So when it comes to skip the bullshit, what that means is in what we call message game context in this school of thought, basically. Um, Bullshit is anything that does not take a step towards the date. So if you're talking about some random thing like how was your day, that's bullshit basically.
Yeah.
It does not take a step towards getting a date. But if you're asking her a targeted question, a smart question like what are three things you would love to do for a first date, that is such a great question to use.
Yeah.
That's one of the famous lines that came in my book that people absolutely love because
Yeah.
gives she gives me her ideal date ideas. So I extract what she actually wants to do and I make that happen. So that's skipping the bullshit, but that's also related to leading. So leading is if you don't wait for her to ask you questions, you need to be moving the conversation forward. So what the AI needs to understand is that it's leading the conversation forward for the sake of meeting. It's like steps, basically. First, you have to skip the bullshit. You have to be leading the whole way to make it move forward in the first place. And then you meet and facilitate meeting. And then there's meeting. Yeah, just a little bit more about leading. So, leading, if you're not leading, who's going to lead the conversation? She's just going to ask you how your day
Yeah.
was, and then you're just answering that question, and you're okay, you haven't made any steps toward
You're just in
meeting in
limbo.
the first place.
You're in
Exactly.
you're
You're
in
going
Inception.
nowhere.
You're on the beach. You're on the beach, looking up at the collapsing buildings and just being like, "Oh, great,
You're just passive.
another Tinder match about to unmatch."
Exactly, and by leading it forward, there's such the advantage that there aren't really that many guys who are leading conversations forward,
Yeah.
as anywhere near as much as my methodology. But then there's meetings. So here's the fascinating part for AI nerds, in particular, and the engineer minded. So the thing with meeting, if I train the AI. This is a kind of problem we have faced a few times. If we make it all about meeting and the user asks a question and the AI is trained to um, give responses that try to facilitate meeting. Sometimes the AI would kind of push for the meetup too quickly.
Yeah.
So there has to be a bit of balance and
There's always a
context because you
balance.
can't just have every single response the user puts in. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
there has to be a bit of balance. At the same time, here's a bit of a mindfuck. Um, while there are some people reporting this to me saying it's going too quickly, there are some cases where I have to explain it's actually supposed to be like that. Actually, that's okay, because people are so used to going slow, going much slower. I have
It's different.
examples in my
It's a
book.
it's a pattern interrupt for the girl and for
Hmm.
the guy. Well, it's a pattern interrupt for the guy because he's not used to it. It's not a pattern interrupt for you or me because that's just how we date, right? But it's a pattern interrupt for the girl, which makes it like, ooh, this guy's different.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just talking to Ross Jeffries about this yesterday. He was telling me about that stuff, pattern interruptions. Yeah, so it's such a different thing that even guys think it's a bit too extreme, but actually, in the cases where that's supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen, but they just
Yeah.
don't necessarily understand that. So there has to be some kind of understanding of how this actually works because you can't just have like, okay, line, 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 don't know what's going on
Yeah.
because you have to actually. I really believe the people using it still need to know how it actually works. That's why they are given the paperback
You
copy
need the
when they
why. You
sign
need the
up.
why so that when you show up it doesn't all fall apart, right? Um yeah. So let's see. What other features are you looking at today? We talked a little bit about the actually automating Tinder on Tinder Web with Java robot class. But what other features are you looking at that are in development today, and what's the plan for those? What's the vision for those?
At the moment, we're kind of focusing on making the sales page better, doing the screenshot thing. I
Yeah,
can't remember what some of the other future
well, the
features
screenshot
were.
thing seems really
Actually,
interesting. Go ahead.
I we have kind of been thinking about because some competitors have come out with an app, but there are disadvantages to that. And I
Everybody
feel
wants a
like
goddamn app. Why does everybody have an app?
I know.
You don't need
It's
an app.
overrated. You
Stop
don't need
building
it.
apps. Just stop it. I get so angry at people that want to build a fucking website. I'm like, you don't need a goddamn website. I'm sorry, am I shouting at you? A
No,
little
I
bit.
love it. I love it. I
A
agree.
little bit I am. I hate apps. I hate logins. I hate passwords. It's all bullshit. Build a goddamn product that everybody wants
Mhm.
first. And once people are knocking down your door for a goddamn app, tell them it's time to wait. You don't need a fucking app. I solved your problem. Give me all your money.
Well,
Right?
yeah, it's overrated. For example, last time I saw you, it was in Las Vegas 2 or 3 weeks ago. My phone, my SIM card, was not registering connection,
Yeah.
so I had to talk to support with the phone line company.
And they say you
Um,
have to download our fucking My Verizon app. Are you kidding me?
exactly, I have to
Why?
download the app. Okay, great. Well, I got no connection.
Yeah.
That kind of defeats the point. But it gets even worse. To sign in, okay, you need your
Now
password
you need a
and
new
your
password. And
email.
even these total password things don't work because it's on
Well,
web
that's
and
not
the
the
app
problem.
and the fucking your employees' apps. It's ridiculous. Go ahead. Tell me.
So passwords I got no problem with. Okay, you got the password. Now I have to enter a code, but it has to be delivered to me
Through
through
text message.
SMS. But
Yeah.
I have no coverage
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm in the state of Nevada. So
Yeah.
how am I supposed to use this app now? How am I
I hear
supposed to
you.
talk to support
I
when
hear
they
you.
took away the other options?
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's
just a
absurd. It's
rampage
absurd. All
there.
right. So
Not everyone needs an app.
yeah, we didn't really preface this conversation with it. It's going to be a little bit controversial, but it might be for some listeners. But you talked a little bit about haters, right? And you
Mhm.
said that you've had some haters, and just you might have some um, strategies or thoughts on how to deal with them. I get a lot of hate for this statement, and maybe you've heard this statement before, um, and have some thoughts on it, and then just give me some general thoughts on haters as well. But what do you think of this? If you want to catch a fish, don't ask a fish.
Well, that's obvious to me. I know exactly what that means. Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't, and I think a lot of women get really offended when I say that. My girlfriend gets really offended when I say that. She's like, I know exactly what I want, and you just don't know how to give it to me. And I just laugh in her face. And I'm like, you get what you need, baby girl. You don't get anything else.
You sound like a radio host.
This is a podcast, is it not? So tell me, tell me
Exactly.
what the statement means because I didn't define it. You tell me, and then tell me why I'm getting hate for it, and then tell me how to deal with the haters. Give me all three. Hit me with it, Ice.
Well, so I understand this from a dating perspective, as
Yeah,
in, if you want dating advice, don't take dating advice from women necessarily,
yeah.
as a man. So because people say what people say is not what they necessarily do. People say things which are extremely inconsistent with their own
It's not
actions.
even
So
malicious. It's not malicious. They're just stupid. Aren't they just stupid? And it's not just women though. It's everybody. Everybody's
you're
just
getting hate for a statement, but that's a drop in the ocean, really. I have had hate for all kinds of things. I started as a game developer, so I was programming and doing everything else, the 3D design, everything,
yeah.
and the marketing, because it was independent. I would even get hate for making video games, but you know who's given the hate? It's kids who are playing these games, who are frustrated with the games, or who are jealous. And there were some extreme examples, but I have had people follow me to my house. I had someone come into my house after I stepped through the door, and I didn't realize that they were following me for like 5 miles or 6 miles because I was on the
That's
subway
that's
too.
crazy.
Uh, I was with someone in a conversation. I was with a woman I was kind of dating.
She didn't
Of
notice a
course,
stalker? Isn't that her job?
no, she would. This person was
On the phone.
following me,
No, I
but
know. No, I understand that. But like the girls are supposed to be the ones that are paranoid and saying, "Hey, you're Ice, you're not keeping me safe. There's this fucking guy following us." You were standing
I don't know.
physically
It's
with the
weird.
girl.
It was in the dark though because we got back from a nightclub. So I don't know.
How did
It
he get
was
so
years
close
ago.
to the door that he got through the door before you closed it? That's wild.
Speeding up, speeding up. I guess
So
I
what
don't know. I
happened? Did
don't
you
live in
stab
those
him?
minds,
Like
but
what happened next? You
I
had me
turned around and I
riveted.
was like, "What the fuck?" But it turned out that this guy actually met me before, um, so it didn't come as like a crazy surprise. But I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well,
So
I've met you
just
before,
like,
so maybe I'll follow you home.
yeah. But anyway, that's not even the worst. So
That's so
there's
wild.
another one. There's this random guy in like the north of England who used to call me and message me every single day, and I would block his account. This guy's a complete psycho. He has issues with his brain,
Yeah.
um, and he would send all kinds of death threats and nasty things, videos of himself doing crazy things you don't want to hear. None of the listeners want to hear for sure,
None of
but
the
yeah,
listeners want
real
to hear it. I'd
nasty
like to hear it,
stuff.
but the listeners don't. I hear you.
But but anyway, I would block the account, and then he would make another one in
Yeah.
5 minutes for like an online phone number and then make
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Telegram account for it. And he must have made like more than 100 accounts
I
just to
believe
send me
you.
messages, and this lasted like 1 or 2 years. Eventually, I got him arrested because I was collecting the evidence
I
so
hope so.
consistently,
I
and there
hope
was
so.
new stuff. So I was like, when are you going to do something about it? When are you going to do something about it? Death threat. But there were worse things than death threats too. Um,
What's
just
worse
like
than a death
real
threat? Don't tell me
obscene.
exactly, but like, what's worse?
Um, he was also, for example, he was also saying, like guilt tripping, saying, "Don't get the police involved. I have a gun. I will
and
shoot
I'll
them if they
and I'll
come
kill
in."
myself or
Now,
somebody
now
else.
that is a death threat, but
Yeah,
you know,
that's crazy, man.
sexual
This
stuff
is what I'm.
too, and
Yeah.
family.
Oh,
Don't get people's families involved and stuff like that. But you know,
yeah, man. And your
when
family
someone
too,
talks
right?
about your daughter when your daughter is 1 years
Yeah,
old, then that's just real nasty stuff
dude.
like
I'm
that.
so terrified of this stuff. I've already had
He got
son-in-law.
arrested.
I believe you, but
Eventually,
that's
he
not
got
enough
arrested.
because they get let
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, yeah. You know what happened? So he got arrested December 2020, I think, or maybe 2021. I don't know. It took so long for it to happen. I went through 3 different police forces in
Yeah.
England because I am not in those places. Although I was
Right.
living
So
in
I don't need to
London
hear the
for some of the
logistics of how
time.
you got him arrested because that's dealing with the systems. That's difficult work. We
Mm.
know it. We already know that. But how do you deal with it psychologically to deal with the haters? Because that's serious business. People coming after you like that.
Yeah.
And
So
if you're
to
successful
some
at anything,
extent,
they're going to come after you. It doesn't matter what you're successful at. But this is the
exactly. Yeah.
dangers.
To what you need to do is, especially in an extreme case like this, is collect evidence, and I
Yeah,
was
for sure.
doing that years before,
Of course, of course,
because of other extreme cases.
of course.
I have had maybe close to 1,000 haters, and I don't know an exact number, but maybe that's a rough number,
Yeah,
because I had a big audience before and I do now.
yeah,
And yeah, make sure don't waste your time. You also have to value your own time.
yeah,
And in the very beginning, when I was much younger and first facing this stuff as a game developer, it just became very time consuming and
yeah,
counterproductive and frustrating.
yeah,
Eventually, I just got tired of it. I was actually, because I was a real computer nerd, I was hiding myself. Nobody would know what country I was from. Nobody
yeah.
would know my name. Um,
I don't know where the fuck
my
you are. All you have is a
internet
whiteboard.
presence, of course. Huh?
All you have is a whiteboard and a killer beard. I don't know where the hell you are.
Not even. Yeah, literally no clues. I would never take phone calls. I didn't even
Yeah,
have a phone for like
yeah.
nearly 10 years.
I love that.
Uh, yeah, a real crazy period. But anyway, in 2018, I finally was like, I don't care anymore. Like, if people want to come after me, because from 2015, well, from 2016 2018, there was a period of different kind of hate because a friend of mine died,
Yeah.
and friends of his stole from him, and then they accused me of stealing what they stole. So it was like, how does that even work?
What?
But it was just so
Why are
ridiculous
people so
that,
fucked
you know
up?
what,
Why?
I'm dealing with like such scumbags. I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna put my name in the game as an Easter egg because my
Yeah.
name is such an obscure thing. My name is not like Andrew or something you would see as a name. My name is like what a car would be called or something like that.
Yeah.
So I put an Easter egg in a game where there was a gun skin or some kind of DLC
Yeah.
named after me, and there were like 65 different versions.
Yeah.
And you had to buy it to find out in the first place. But within a week, someone was like, "That's your name." I was like, "How the fuck would you know this?" It's like such a non-name kind of name because my name's very short, very weird, and it's just 2 words, which are descriptive of each other.
Yeah.
Um, but either way, I was beyond caring at that point, because I used to be involved with what do you call it, like, um, there were some hacker circles and stuff like that. I wasn't on the bad side, um, but really dealing with some real nerds who would do anything to find where you live just for the
Yeah.
fun of it. And I knew nothing would happen because it got to a point where, well, nobody has shown up at my house. What are these skinny ass motherfuckers going to do in the first place
Yeah.
anyway? I opened the door and like, look, I'm 6'2". Are they
Yeah.
going to be taller than me? It's quite unlikely.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're going to fly all the way to wherever I am. So
Yeah.
there was. I did say that one time where someone did come through my door, but that was it.
Yeah, that's so
Aside from
wild
that,
to me.
yeah, they're not gonna fucking show up, and if they
All
do,
right. Yeah, that's cool,
it's not
man.
like I'm
So
prepared for it, but I would
yeah.
be.
So let's just do two quick things. I want to hear other than buy your product, other than get crazy good at messaging girls on Tinder. What advice do you have for young men to be the attractive guy that everybody wants? Uh, what trials and tribulations do they have to go through? What training do they have to do? Talk to me, Ice.
Yeah, first realize that not everyone is going to want you. So don't ever be thinking that 100% or like most people are going to desire you because from evolution, that's not really how it works.
Yeah.
But of course, the first thing I would
So get
say,
comfortable with
don't
rejection.
ever.
That sounds like a rule for
I
business.
That's not
Comfortable with
quite
rejection.
what I would
You know how many
say
emails I
though.
send a day?
I don't even want to guess. Oh, but damn, yeah, actually,
Tens of thousands,
get
maybe.
comfortable with rejection would be good advice, but that's not quite the advice I would give
Okay, then
personally.
tell me, what is it? I
Um,
didn't hear it then.
because I'm not a mass messaging kind of person. I don't aim for like 10,000 things and see what opens up and what doesn't. I just like to do things from very one-on-one kind of level. But anyway, the first thing I would say is don't ever fall into the trap of believing that you have to be perfect. Now, it's kind of funny because my ex girlfriend found a book. What do you call it? Whatever those things are, where it's like Mr. something, and they got like many versions. She found a book where it said Mr. Perfect, and it's like a blue triangle character, and she said, "That's you." Um,
Dangerous.
from the perspective of also my wife has said a similar thing. Um, that I'm kind of perfectionist. I have been in my life for a very long time, but what I want to communicate to guys is don't be perfectionist because that's not you will not be satisfied with life if that's how you're going to live it, and don't fall into the trap of believing that you have to have the perfect um, body. You got to have some crazy jawline. You got to have a nose job or all these things. Now, look, I don't have a damaged nose or a broken nose or any disfigured things. I got scars. You want to know where I got these scars? Um,
Psychological scars.
Imperfections
I can tell that
are
already.
okay. I got those too, but I can handle that very well. Um, but there's this thing called the black pill movement, and that just really annoys me. There are these guys who really fall into this trap of believing you have to have a perfect body
Yeah.
in order to attract a female, and
Yeah.
that's just not right. So of course, have a balance. Take a shower every day. Brush your teeth. Do the basic things. But if you're going completely crazy, overthinking what you need to dress like and doing all these weird things like making your jawline something crazy or that you have to have a six pack. Of course, be in shape, as in not be obese. But I'm not sure if this is audio only, but my beard is scruffy a
Yeah.
lot of the time. These things don't matter. What matters is your personality, your mindset, especially. It's just that a lot of guys kind of have their own projections of women because women are beautiful and we're attracted to them because they're beautiful, and they project that onto women and then back onto themselves as if
Yeah.
that's how it works. But women value men for different reasons than we would value
Well, it's a lot
women.
easier, Ice, because you've achieved a lot, right? Like it's the mindset and it's the attitude and it's the personality, but it's also the fact that you've achieved, right? That's what it seems to me as well. Um, but I'm gonna have to hit the gym because I am part of the school of thought that says I have to have a six pack, and if I don't, I'm worthless. Because I had a six pack 2 months ago, and man, life was so much better.
Well, that's one thing, but how are you going to market that exactly? It's not like
Oh,
you're going to walk around with your shirt off all the
are
time.
you sure
So,
about that?
now,
So,
of course, you can see muscles when you're wearing a shirt. Like, okay, we can tell that your arms are not sticks. There's that, but when it comes to very specific details, it doesn't really matter
ooh,
so much.
I don't know about all that, Ice. Um, the on one of the well, I guess I didn't get it on film, but on another podcast, I interviewed a poker player, and he walked out of the room. He lifts up his shirt. He says, "Look at this six pack. You can't come after me." And I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't have a six pack right now. I can't come after you. So yeah, man. This was great. I loved talking about it. We're gonna have to continue this conversation with how to categorize some more with these AI tools and the create marry the expert system with the AI. I think that's just got to be the answer with so much of this
Hmm.
stuff. So hit us with a plug. Where can we find you? What are we looking up? Are you mostly on Facebook? Where's the best place for people listening here to find you?
So Facebook is my main one actually, and
Yep,
people
yep.
call me a bit of a boomer for saying that. But if you type in Ice White, I should hopefully be the first thing that pops up. There's a page and there's a person. Go for the person because I don't do anything with the page. The link is facebook.com/, Ice White Personal. Everywhere else, I am whatever slash Ice White Official. So Instagram.com/, Ice White Official. Although on YouTube, I'm Game Global. Just search in the search bar
Yep,
Game
yep, yep.
Global. Got thousands of subscribers there.
Great.
And for MGAI, the AI wingman for online dating, you can, yeah, you could just Google MGAI. That'll be easier. But the
Great.
website is heynovo.ai/go/MGAI.
Wow. Let's just Google that one. That sounds like the better
Yeah,
idea.
that'll be easier.
Nice.
Mike Golf Alpha, India.
Love it. Cool, man. Well, thank you again for your time. And I say don't subscribe, stop listening to me, and go build your fucking company. So, thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
we'll catch up soon.
Thanks. Nice.